Yes, my pleasure. Okay, so obviously it's a very topical subject, investing in artificial intelligence. It's really last 18 months has been when this has exploded. It started around November 2022. That's when ChatGPT was released, and since then it's really been off to the races with new models being released. A lot of talk in the media about how it disrupts industries, and then of course investing opportunities for investment. So, really to give a brief summary of what we think of AI or what I think of AI. Um, Absolutely, these innovations that we've seen over the past 18 months are incredible. They're real. They are driving innovation. They are great innovations, but they're driving other innovations in different industries and sectors, and it really has the opportunity to reshape society, possibly in many positive ways. There's also the argument in many negative ways, but that's the same with any technology. It can be used for good or for bad. So we want to focus here on investing and investing in artificial intelligence. So really, I think even economically, from an investment perspective, AI, these advancements really have the opportunity to be, the next phase of growth for society. When we look at what has driven stock market returns, economic growth, a lot of that really comes down to technological innovation. So the U.S. market in particular has been in a bull market a secular bull market since the 1980s. Some of the best returns in history. And when we look at how the world has changed over that period of time, we had, the birth of personal computing in the 80s, the internet, smart devices, advancements in cloud computing, AI, and then generative AI more recently. So this is something that is important for investors to pay attention to, but I really believe that the opportunity, at least right now, is not exactly what investors think that it is, or what a lot of investors think that it is. So, when people think about investing in AI or how AI can be a major investment opportunity, they think generally about investing in AI stocks. Whereas, although there are some limited opportunities there, certainly I see the opportunity really is how artificial intelligence can impact all sectors in all industries. So from manufacturing to finance, making them more efficient, making them more competitive, opening up new markets, as opposed to investing specifically in companies that market themselves as AI stocks. Now, there are some AI stocks out there that will be good opportunities and perhaps are right now, but I do believe people have to be very careful. So let's look at the reality and the hype of artificial intelligence in 2024. So the reality, as I just talked about, major advancements have been made over the past 12 to 18 months. This is accelerating. These are real advancements. They can truly reshape society, improve productivity, drive future growth and prosperity. But then on the hype side of the equation is that AI has become the biggest buzzword in the market. And every company is an AI company now. This is really a risk to investors because whenever you have such excitement about a specific theme, you get a lot of promotional activities and companies that aren't really great companies that enter that market, and they just really want to use it as an opportunity to raise money from investors, and that's really what it comes down to. So the reality of these advancements is that it has made it incredibly easy to implement artificial intelligence, and anybody now can really build an AI company. So that is both an opportunity, but it's also a risk. And it's a risk because the competition in this space has accelerated. There are a lot of companies coming out with new technologies, new apps, all of them with AI posted right on the top. So the competition has really expanded, and the barriers to entry have really declined. So there's not a lot of barrier to entry right now. Um, and just to get a sense of what this looks like, so in terms of AI apps, we can go to the world's largest AI app aggregation website. It's called There's an AI for that, and see how many of these apps are being launched. Just in October alone, almost 22,000 AI apps, newly launched AI apps, were featured on this website. So, um, you know, many of these, not all, but many of these will call themselves companies. They will call themselves AI companies. They will claim to have the next big app, the next killer app. And really, it's just an avenue to raise money. The vast majority of these companies will never make any money in terms of revenue or profitability. And that is really the risk to investors, is that There are teams of people out there. Some of them are doing really great work, and some of them are really just trying to use this as an opportunity, a financial opportunity for themselves to raise capital. But they can build products or they can build apps that look really impressive, but ultimately they're never going to make money. So when it comes to investing in AI stocks, how do you really differentiate between these companies that will just get lost in the mix, that are never going to generate value for investors long term, versus the companies that actually have something that's real, that is going to be a big boom for investors? And it really comes down to revenue and profitability. If a company has a great technology, they should be able to sell it, and it's the revenue and the profitability that really validate the business model. So this is the easiest thing that investors can look for as a very basic baseline level of analysis. Is this company, is this app actually producing revenue? Is it driving some of that revenue to the bottom line? If it is, then there is some validation of the business model, and it's worth at least a further look. If there's no revenue, even, then I would just say that it's speculative and nothing is proven. So I'm just going to give a couple examples here. And these are all companies with revenues. But last year in our DIY stock investing seminars, we did a segment on AI. And we talked a lot about this, about how certain companies really focus on promoting themselves as AI stocks. But generally, the best companies in the AI space to invest in aren't spending as much effort talking about themselves as AI companies. They're just integrating AI into what they do. So there's three companies that I focused on specifically: C3.ai, SoundHound AI, and Bigbear.ai. So these are all companies with over a billion market cap. They all have revenue, which is good. But the reason why I focused on these three specifically is because they're obviously very focused on marketing themselves as AI stocks, since they all have AI in the name. And they're at least large enough that they're getting some attention from investors. So C3 AI, so this is a software as a service company. They help customers rapidly develop and deploy large scale enterprise AI applications. You have SoundHound AI. This is conversational intelligence. They're offering independent AI voice platform. Then you also have Bigbear.ai that provides their proprietary AI ML technology to the national defense and intelligence communities. So these are three companies heavily in the AI space. They are all producing revenue. And it all sounds good when you look at what they do. But now let's take a look at financially how these companies look, just as a financial snapshot as of today. So revenue, net income, this is trailing 12 months. C3 AI, about 284 million in revenue over the last 12 months. Pretty good, but they've lost almost that much. They've lost $262 million in negative earnings, and they trade right now at a price to sales of 12 times. SoundHound, $38 million in revenue over the last 12 months. They've lost $100 million on the bottom line. They're trading at 33 times sales. Bigbear.ai, revenue of 155 million. They've lost 70 million. They're trading at 2.3 times. So the price to sales on Big Bear looks decent, but we also have to remember this is now a $360 million market cap company, but that's only because they've lost almost 80% of their market value over the last couple of years. So that's something that definitely has to be considered. Now, let's take a look at a company that is an established, profitable, growing business that has real competitive advantages in the space. And this would be Microsoft. So Microsoft, 227 billion in revenue over the last year, net income of 82 billion. So good, strong margins, consistent growth, trading at 13 times sales, and then trading at 37 times earnings. Not extremely cheap by any means, but still a reasonable valuation when you're looking at a high margin business that is growing and has real competitive advantages in this space. And then when we compare the share price performance of these companies over the last 3 years, Microsoft is actually the only company in the group that has had a positive return, about 81%. Now compare that to C3, SoundHound, and Big Bear, all of them negative. SoundHound is down only about 17%, but they actually had a big boost just today in their share price. The others down 75, 77% over the last couple of years. And this is what happens when you invest based on excitement and hype. as opposed to looking at the actual underlying fundamentals. Now, I believe probably these three companies do have some competitive advantages in their space, but I would argue, given the huge net losses that we're seeing, they're still not validated as businesses. Whereas Microsoft, certainly is an example of a company that is validated and certainly does have strong competitive advantages. So, something to consider when you are looking at AI companies. You really want to pay attention to whether or not this business is actually making money as a validation of the business model. Keep in mind that barriers to entry right now are low. The competition is high. So you really want to stick to established companies that have a track record of growth and profitability, and also real competitive advantages in the space.
Quickly, just pulling up on the screen here. Like I ended up finding this from Yahoo, and this is just showing the times that AI is being mentioned, basically in corporate earnings calls. So we saw this huge spike in 2023, essentially, but now we're kind of seeing that fade off a little bit. So maybe some of these companies that were trying to take advantage and ride the hype are maybe profiling themselves as something else other than an AI. Who knows? Maybe they're going with the flavor of the day, or it's just becoming less popular. But we are seeing it kind of pull back here.
Well, I think after a while, this is actually a really interesting chart. So it looks like it peaked here in Q3 of last year,
Correct.
and then now in Q1 of 2024, it's down quite a bit. I would say that once you really start to get, when the hype is early and not a lot of people, you're one of the first companies mentioning AI, you really get a bounce off of that. You get more attention. But when everybody's talking about AI, it gets to the point where you really just start rolling your eyes. It's like, I don't want to hear about AI. I want to hear about revenues. I want to hear about profitability. I want to hear about expansion, competitive advantage. Certainly if AI is a big part of your business, you're integrating it, that's great. But, I don't need to hear it mentioned 200 times in a conference call, right? Unless you're actually, generating money from it.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, not to, pump Ryan's head up bigger than it already is, but like, his prediction in 2023 was, AI was going to be, a dominant, headline essentially. And just look at how many times in 2023 that it was mentioned.
AI made the prediction
to be fair,
for
I
him.
also predicted that in 2023 it would rain at least once. One or more times, and I was also correct with that. So,
he did predict that in 2022, though. I should mention that he predicted that in December. He predicted that it'd be big in 2023. Yeah, December 2022. He wasn't doing it the day before.
So that is pretty good. Here. I will also say, this is kind of a tangent off of the AI, but like for Ryan's projections for the prediction special, you thought that there was going to be a high profile deep fake that comes out, and it is like R-rated because it's a adult. It was an adult, basically deep.
Where are we going with this, Brennan? Where are we going with this?
Bobby Altoff, which is a podcaster that kind of came onto the scene last year. There ended up being a deep fake that someone created of her. Again, it was R-rated. And it started making the rounds on Twitter, and everyone thought that it was real, and it's not real. Regardless, that to say, I'm just kind of confirming that,
I would say there'll be more. But again, my prediction on AI was predicted by AI. So I don't know who to give credit to, really.
Is that good or bad, though?
Good credit or bad credit?
Aaron, so we're -1 off your score?
I don't even know what we're talking about anymore.
-1 off your predictions for 2023.
True.
AI, not you.